Good evening, everyone. Tonight on the show I have a very good friend of mine, as well as a very important researcher joining us. Everyone give a round of applause for Mr. Thomas Hank.
Thanks, Larry.
So, the reason I asked Mr. Hank to come tonight was to discuss a big controversy in the medical field. But before I can tell everyone what the controversy is, my friend here wanted to break the ice a little. Thomas.
Well, I would like to ask a few questions first. Audience, just do me a favor and raise your hand if you or anyone you know or knew has any of the following medical issues: diabetes, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, heart disease, suffered from a stroke, birth defects, spinal cord injury, needs an organ repaired or replaced, and lastly, cancer. Wow, Larry. Would you look at that? Everyone's hand is up. Now, raise your hand if you would like if there were a cure for these problems.
Just about everyone in here, Thomas.
Now, what if I said stem cell research has the potential to do just that? Raise your hand if you'd be okay with this. Very interesting.
It seems that not a lot of people are on your side with this, Thomas.
I'm used to that, but I find that 90% of the time, people don't know much about this issue.
Well, that's why you're here, isn't it?
Indeed it is, Larry.
Very well. So, Mr. Hank, tell us, for those of us who may not know, what exactly is a stem cell?
A mesenchyme cell, or stem cell, is an undifferentiated type of body cell usually found in bone marrow, umbilical cords, and also embryos. These cells later become specialized once coming in touch with a specific area of the body. They also have the ability to self-renew themselves through mitotic cell division, creating potential to replace damaged cells and tissues.
Wait, so what you're saying is that they can regrow into different organs?
That is correct.
Well, what's the big controversy then? That sounds like a brilliant plan if you ask me.
Indeed it does, Larry. But the reason people are so against it is because of embryonic stem cells. Many people who believe that human life starts at the time of conception are in opposition because they believe that in order to extract stem cells from an embryo, it requires destruction of the embryo. But, although their point sounds rather convincing, many researchers have proven that during blastula, the stage at which the cell begins to differentiate, there is no life. In addition to this, my fellow co-worker, Robert Lanza, has come up with a way to extract a single stem cell from an embryo without destroying it.
That's a terrific discovery. Congratulations to Mr. Lanza. Why are scientists and researchers so eager to study embryonic stem cells anyway?
Well, embryonic cells are something we call pluripotent, which means they have the ability to typify into any of the 200+ cell types in the human body.
I see. Are there any downfalls to these cells?
Unfortunately, Larry, yes. Because the embryonic cells multiply so rapidly, they sometimes can form tumors.
And this can lead to cancer, correct?
Right. The other downfall is that one's body has a greater chance to reject the donor host's cell due to DNA purposes.
That can't be very good. If I remember correctly, you said stem cells could also be found in bone marrow, did you not?
Yes, I did in fact say that. Bone marrow is where you would find adult stem cells.
Why don't researchers just use those?
We have. We've actually been using adult stem cell research for the past 35 to 40 years. The thing is though, Larry, is that adult stem cells are multipotent, meaning that they are limited to developing into only a few cell types. However, there is one type of adult, pluripotent stem cell found in the lining of the nose. Another positive thing about adult stem cells is that if they come from the original host, there is no fear for rejection.
If there has been so much progress from using adult stem cells, then why not just continue using them instead of embryonic ones?
As I mentioned before, adult stem cells can only typify into a limited amount of cells, so therefore making the embryonic cells more feasible to work with. Also, the progress we have made has been over a few decades. It, meaning the research, has had time to develop. Just think of what we could do if time was given to embryonic cell research.
Good point, Thomas. So, where does umbilical cord stem cells fall into play here?
Well, firstly, umbilical cells are plentiful, and like adult stem cells, they can be a perfect match if a family has planned ahead and stored them in a cryogenic cell bank after being extracted during pregnancy. These cells can be used on the newborn, the mother, and the father, but the more distant the relationship, the more likely one's body will reject it.
This seems like a good way to go. Do these cells have potency like adult and embryonic cells?
They do, Larry. Although they are not pluripotent like embryonic cells, they are, however, more potent than the adult cells.
That's not too bad.
No, it's not. You can't have everything though, can you?
No, Mr. Hank, we cannot. So after all of this being said, shall we take another vote?
Of course. Now, how many of you are okay with stem cell research in order to help cure and fight these deadly diseases for you, your friends, and family members? And yes, your pet is a family member. Ah, now that's more like it.
Well, thank you audience for participating tonight. Thank you for those who've watched the show. And of course thank you Mr. Thomas Hank for being here with us and sharing your knowledge. Good night everyone.